An all-time great UCL hat-trick reignites Madrid's season. Meanwhile, Jorgensen goes full Kinski, Chelsea go full Spurs, but it doesn't really matter because Bodo Glimt are winning the Champions League. This is DMac Daily. A devastating evening for the Madrid hate watchers, a devastating 48 hours for the Premier League supremacists, or should I say the Farmers League, and a stunning spectacle at the Bernabeu under the lights. Last season, it was Mbappe's hat-trick that sent City packing. Well, fast forward a year, and no Mbappe, no worries apparently. It's another individual masterclass that has destroyed City once more. Fede Valverde, I was unfamiliar with your game. I mean, I know you're a great player, a world-class player, but no one saw that coming. A first-half hat-trick, all three of which were sublime goals. Goals that prime CR7 would be proud of. My pick of the bunch has to be the third goal, right? The dink from Diaz, the touch from Fede that sends Gehi all the way back to Crystal Palace before belting it home on the volley. Ridiculous finish. This man should not be allowed to play right back ever again after that performance. I know he deputizes well there on occasion, but he is capable of the spectacular. And in a Madrid team without a recognized number 9 on the pitch, so many stars missing, Valverde carried. I gotta say, Real Madrid are something else, man. They've been bang average all season. Bar Mbappe's stat padding, it's been a total mess. But come a high-stakes UCL match day, they have this unparalleled ability to string together something marvelous. They do the real-life equivalent of leaning forward in FIFA and destroy one of Europe's premium oil clubs. In the end, Vinny Jr. will be disappointed not to have effectively put the tie to bed from 12 yards out. Donnarumma pulled off several big saves for City, as did the ever-reliable Thibaut Courtois. I think the other major talking point from today was that Haaland, once again, was nowhere to be seen. In 2026, he's played 16 games and only scored 4 goals. I know he scored in the group phase against Madrid earlier in the campaign, and he did slot home away a penalty away at Anfield recently, but how many times throughout his City career has Haaland seemingly gone missing in the biggest moments? It's probably his biggest legitimate criticism, and today was no different. And this is coming from someone who rates Haaland big time. Something to think about. Now we move to PSG Chelsea. How do I adequately communicate my thoughts here without completely crashing out? You know what? I don't think I can, because holy mother of Spurs, that was some capitulation. Only Chelsea could concede 5 goals with an XG of 0.98. It's been fun while it lasted in the UCL, but ultimately the preseason world champions have been exposed. The positives, no red card, that's always a plus. We also got a Hazard regen in Pedro Neto apparently. Chelsea also beat PSG on XG. Wow, I'm really starting to sound like an Arsenal fan here. And hey, I guess Chelsea can now focus on the league and maybe secure top 5. But on a more serious note, this was a complete self-destruction if I've ever seen one. To be fair, this is par for the course with Chelsea. They do this all the time. They'll show up for a good 60, or in this case, 73 minutes, have you fully believing in what could be, only to then crumble spectacularly. Now, I'm not an outright hater of Liam Rosenior. I've actually been pleasantly surprised with his contribution thus far, but 2 major criticisms presented themselves today. The substitutions just cooked Chelsea's shape. The Lap, Mr. 2 goals in 29 games, enough said. Then at 4-2, he takes off Gusto for Garnacho, and they're even more exposed defensively. But the biggest issue is obviously Jorgensen's selection and display. Yesterday, we saw an example of incredibly risky goalkeeper selection backfiring abysmally. Well, this was similarly shambolic. For all of Sanchez's flaws, of which there are many, he has greatly improved in the past 12 months. Still making mistakes on occasion, but is far more reliable, experienced, and has proven to be a more refined sweeper keeper currently than Jorgensen. The Dane is a decent shot stopper, but on the ball, he is not it. He is not capable of playing the way Rosenior wants Chelsea to play. PSG realized this early and proceeded to press the crap out of him all game. Panic stations every time he got the ball, and when it mattered most, a disastrous blunder. One that inevitably opened the floodgate. Honestly, I don't even fully blame him. Make Courtois play this crazy way and the same issues will persist. Chelsea do not have the adequate personnel or composure to play such risk-heavy tactics against the reigning European champions, particularly in the late stages away from home. An experienced side sees out the game. Chelsea's approach was suicidal. Literally all 5 goals today came from silly, avoidable mistakes. The data makes this clear, but PSG are so ruthless. Dembele cooked them from nothing, as did Barcola. Vitinha, just ridiculous, and Kvaratskhelia off the bench, game over. Tie effectively over. Bar a miraculous remontada, that is, which I cannot foresee happening in my wildest dreams. Nonetheless, a big result for the European champions. They haven't had a great season thus far. They're at serious risk of crumbling domestically, in fact, but this result will do wonders for their confidence. They are still an incredibly dangerous side. Speaking of incredibly dangerous sides, and Bodo Glimt. Bodo freaking Glimt are single-handedly restoring my faith in humanity in a football landscape that only seems to reward a select few of Europe's richest. Seriously, look at the UCL winners over the last 20 years. Yet this little old Norwegian club, currently in pre-season, is just cyclically cooking everyone. Year on year, by the way. Last season's Europa League semi-finalists decided to now give the UCL a crack. And oh my days, it has been extraordinary. Ever since that stunning victory over City in January, they have been destroying everything in their path. Atletico at the Metropolitano, tick. Inter Milan home and away, tick tick. So are you really surprised that this lot then decided to give Sporting a spanking? It bears repeating, these guys are literally in pre-season right now. They had a cup game a few days ago, only just scraping through. Yet a historic UCL tie awaits, and this lot morph into prime Barcelona. Sporting have had an incredible European campaign themselves as underdogs, but the GOAT underdogs have now humbled them. It's such a mind-boggling scenario to unfold. A club with a stadium akin to that of your average non-league ground, on synthetic turf in a small town in Norway, doing the seemingly impossible, all whilst playing a fantastic brand of football with intricate passing, creative wingers. They are a fantastic watch, and on the road, they're an equally devastating proposition too. Organized, compact, and ruthless on the counter. Bodo ball is the real deal, folks, and at this point, they're low-key like not even underdogs. 5 straight UCL wins. I fully expect them to conquer Sporting in the return leg. Personally, I think this is easily the greatest UCL miracle we've ever witnessed. I mean, Ajax's run in 2018 was special. Porto winning it in 04 was incredible too, but look at the players those teams possessed. Bodo's success is beyond extraordinary, especially in 2026, where the financial gap is so transparently enormous. Understand, Bodo Glimt's squad value is 6 times less than that of the second lowest valued squad remaining in the competition. It defies all logic. You watch them play and you'd be convinced these guys are seasoned elite footballers. Even crazier, these guys aren't even the current champions in their own country. Everything about this is so iconic, and the best part, the story is yet to fully unfold. Staying in the Champions League, and the set piece monsters have been undone by a set piece. A surprising result in Germany as Leverkusen hold Arsenal to a 1-1 draw. The Gunners had won every single game in the UCL this campaign leading into today, but in the end were relatively fortunate to settle for a draw. Leverkusen will be disappointed to have conceded that late penalty, which turned out to be the major talking point of this encounter. Was it a pen, or did Madueke dive? Now, in my honest opinion, I think it is an extremely soft decision, but I can see why it's given. Tillman does make the slightest of contact, and let's be honest, that was an insane tackle attempt to make. Proper head loss challenge. Of course, Madueke is going to look for the foul there. A double blow for Leverkusen with their former star player Kai Havertz stepping up to score the equalizer. Far more respectful though in his celebration to the German club than with Chelsea, but circumstances are obviously a bit different there. I don't think Arteta will be too concerned overall with the draw. You'd anticipate the Gunners will prevail at the Emirates. Emirates, but you never know. Leverkusen were very competitive today. They'll no doubt back themselves on the road, although it's going to be a very grueling week or so for the Germans. They face Bayern on Sunday, followed by Arsenal again, as tough as it gets. And now for some rapid fire news, and Griezmann has lashed out at Spurs' boss following his decision to sub off goalkeeper Antonin Kinski after 17 minutes following 2 errors, saying, "I think it's a shame. If the coach starts with that goalkeeper, you have to see it through. Mentally, it must be very tough for Kinski." Kinski also received a DM from Courtois in support, alongside De Gea speaking up publicly for the youngster. The 22-year-old then broke his silence on the matter on Instagram, saying, "Thanks for messages. From dream to nightmare to dream again. See you." So good to see his spirits remain somewhat intact despite the disastrous 24 hours or so he's probably experienced. Speaking of disastrous, how about this Barca fan who traveled to England to watch his beloved club play away at Newcastle, but instead of rocking up to St. James's Park, he instead miscalculated his travels and arrived at St. James Park in Exeter. So instead of watching UCL football, he was instead treated to a glorious encounter in the 3rd tier of English football as Exeter hosted Lincoln City, with the away side taking all 3 points. And to close out today's ep, we have to quickly talk about Iran potentially boycotting the upcoming World Cup. Their sports minister, Ahmad Donyal Mali, spoke out today saying, "Under no circumstances do we have the conditions to participate in the World Cup. Our players do not have security, and fundamentally the conditions for participation do not exist." Crazy stuff, unsurprising though considering the extreme circumstances. However, the last time a team qualified yet didn't participate in the World Cup was way back in 1950. Pretty wild to be living in this current timeline, but here we are. Anyways, that's all for today's DMac Daily. Thanks for tuning in as always, and I'll see you next time.